My always forgotten thing, yes.
I have gone through like half. I taught 2 classes last summer. I teach engineering, so I had 2 classes I taught to other engineering teachers to certify them. And I was recording and putting the content online, and I did get through halfway through one session and realized I forgot to start recording. So I'm always and leaving my keys in the car. Those are like the 2 things that I'm always double checking for my hotel key.
I did one for the FAA. I do the webinars for the safety team, and I had a phenomenal one. The interaction was great. The conversation was good. The education was great. And I got off and I went, oh no, I didn't record it. Yeah. So yeah, I learned that one myself.
Yeah, well, I can always cut off the first part like now, but you can't add stuff later, right?
Nope.
Once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so these will be hosted. I don't know if we decided. I think it's going to be on our Go Drone website somewhere, which is under development. But they will be somewhere, so we can go find them, which I'm glad because I wasn't able to get to all of them. So
that'll be great.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm a perfect person to not necessarily sit on this panel, but listen to what you have to say, because I'm, even though I'm a teacher, I'm new to drones in the classroom. So I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say.
Well, I know a few people said that they were going to share a PowerPoint or a flyer.
Okay. Yeah, so I will make all the panelists, and I have made you a co-host. Oops, I accidentally made Joe a co-host. Didn't mean to do that, Joe, sorry.
Oh, that's all right.
I thought I was clicking on Desi.
I
wasn't going to make you present anything, Joe, sorry.
I appreciate that. I wouldn't been ready anyways.
Well, I made 2 little clips. One just kind of shows who I am, and one just kind of gives some links. I think, is it Hernanda?
Yes.
Is it? I took your lead from the other day, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll do a flyer or something. So I'm looking forward to seeing yours, and hopefully mine follows suit.
Okay, cool. Great. Yeah, I always try to do something interactive in these things because, it's easy to get Zoom fatigue.
Oh, tell me. Yes, Thursday is my big Zoom day. I'm on from 8:30 a.m. to about 5 p.m. I have a break for lunch, and by the time I get to my 4 to 5 o'clock, I'm out of it.
Oh,
I feel sorry for the people that have to sit through that one with me.
Well, and I'm always looking for ways to make it interactive, because I've seen where, throw in a picture of your cat, or throw in a picture of this, just to break it up, or put in a poll, those
yeah.
kind of things. But yeah, I definitely agree. I'm looking for ways to make it interactive.
For sure.
So one of the things we do, and I know this is a total side note, and I don't know if I have time, but we play Kahoots. Does anybody play Kahoot?
My kids,
yeah, I love
Kahoot.
Me too. My kids love it too.
The greatest thing ever.
It is.
Well, and I like to, every once in a while, I'll make it for points. It's a quiz grade.
Oh, good job.
So they don't mind that. That's because that's a fun quiz.
It is.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to turn my... All right, well, it is 3 o'clock, but I know some of the other sessions, there might be some extra Q&A, so we'll give people another minute or 2 to get here. But I will be respectful of your time. I know for those of you that have been here for the entire session, it's long, but for me, it's been very informative.
Yes, it has. Yes, it
Yep.
has.
It's been great.
Yeah. And I'm still in awe over zipline.
That was amazing.
Isn't that awesome?
That was absolutely amazing.
I showed that to my kids this summer. They loved it.
Yeah.
have a video of it on YouTube, and they have the whole video where she did just that, what they did, and it's so cool, and the kids love it. They have one you guys should find for. Well, I may save it until we get in the thing, but I want to tell you guys about it too. But I'll share it with everybody else too. But another good virtual one is Amazon's delivery, their 21st century delivery. Have you seen the long version of that one?
I have not.
Yes, it's good. It's good. You should. It's on YouTube. It's on
Okay.
And
YouTube.
when are they going to start mass deliveries?
I'm
here
not
in the
Amazon.
US?
I'm sorry. UPS. UPS.
Oh, UPS. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I haven't seen
Amazon
that
has
one.
one. Yes, they have one that they show the flirty, and that's a good one too that they do.
Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't it is 3:02. I want to respect everyone's time. So I did see Scott just join us. So Scott, I'm going to make you a co-host. Let's see, is Bill here? I don't see Bill yet. Megan, I don't quite see Megan yet. But Desi, Hernanda, and Scott, you guys are all co-hosts. And so why don't we get started? It is 3:03. And welcome to the Teacher Experiences Breakout. Hopefully you've had a great experience today. I know I have. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to make it to every minute of the event, but we are recording these. This is being recorded, and we'll let you know through an email or some other communication where you can find the links. Which I'm looking forward to. That's what I'll be doing over Thanksgiving, I think, is catching up on all these things. So my name is Tony Tegmeyer. If you see my name there, that second T is there just to kind of throw you off. I think they added that at Ellis Island or something. I'm not sure how that got there. But a little bit about my background and how I got here. I am an engineering teacher in Naperville, Illinois, just outside Chicago. I've been a teacher now 7 years, but I took maybe a little bit different route than some people. I was an aerospace engineer. That was my background. So I have a natural interest in drones because they fly. I worked in the space program for a few years on the space station, working on the propulsion system. So I'm a recovering rocket scientist, I guess. You could say. And I spent some time in automotive, manufacturing, and then technology. My wife is a teacher, and she suggested that I give it a try after an interesting day at work. And so long story short, I did give it a try. I absolutely love it. And so I teach this year just 2 classes. I teach aerospace engineering and then a capstone class. And I was very honored to be named the Project Lead the Way National Engineering Teacher of the Year last spring, and runner-up the year before that. So I guess someone thinks I'm doing something okay. So where I am in my journey is I teach an aerospace class this year. It's our first one. It's a passion of mine. I have drones. I'm working towards my Part 107 certification. And I have a rocket club and an aerospace. So I've been trying to figure out, how do I get drones into what I do? I can't have a class yet, but how do I start? And so I'm part of a group that's a drone interest group here in Chicago area through Hub 88. And we started working with the group that put this whole conference together. And so that's kind of how I got here. I got here because I'm interested, and I am super excited to have our panelists here. So what we're going to do, this is going to be pretty low key, pretty laid back, a Q&A. With some panelists. And so I see we have at least 3 of you here. I see Megan just arrived, so I'm going to add Megan to co-host. Bill Richardson, are you here? I don't know if I see you on the list. So why don't we, I'll have the panelists introduce themselves. And then in chat, feel free to put any questions you have. I certainly have plenty that could probably keep us going for 3 hours, but I won't monopolize things. So why don't we start with Hernanda? Tell us a little bit about your experiences with teaching drones, and then we'll kind of go, we'll go to all the different panelists, and then we'll get into the Q&A.
Sure, absolutely. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, SMU Go Drone Conference. This has been amazing, and all of our partners and supporters. So I really appreciate it. I definitely love that we are like having this Star Wars moment, this meeting of the mind. And this drone conference is definitely bringing all of that together as one. So for me, it's kind of like, it's fun, it's interactive, it's engaging, but it's also the educational piece that really makes it well worth it for the kids. And that's the biggest advantage that I see to playing around with these things we call drones. They're toys, they're fun, but you can learn a lot. You can actually expand and grow and do so much more. And that's what I try to share with my students. This summer, we had our first virtual camp. Of course, we had to pivot and reshape our model. We were going to be in person, and we were going to have this large space where we were going to be flying drones and hands-on and doing all kinds of cool stuff. Of course, we all know the story to that. COVID happened, and so we all had to rethink how we were going to really engage. The program that I was partnered with this summer in the city of Dallas was doing just that with us. I entered the application pool in February. They made the announcements in late March, and then we were on lockdown for planning and everything. So I was like, oh no, am I going to still have my program? I was so excited. And then I got selected to get a grant, to be able to get these things funded that I had wrote my proposal for, in my application. And I was like, oh, I've come this far and it's going to be over. But it wasn't. And so I had to really rethink what I wanted to do. I knew from working already in tech and having worked online so much that, Zoom was your friend. And so I utilized a lot of the Zoom technology and the things that were out there in doing just that. And so I said, well, here's a chance for me to really see what I got. I started doing outreach, getting into, forums on Facebook and talking to folks. And then also just, going online to those industry places where things were happening and seeing what was out there and how to get involved, and how to do it. And so as I was doing my research, I ran across Women in Drones and a few other organizations. I started, of course, reading what they were doing. And I started making emails and calls. And I started saying, hey, we're interested. We have to do a drone virtual conference. A drone virtual camp. I'm trying to figure out the moving parts on how to do that. And I started making connections. And the more research I started doing, I was able to come across the Drone Racing League. I reached out to them, and they immediately came back. We started having like exchanging the conversations, and we ended up getting a partnership with them for the summer. They ended up giving us a tech talk with the president of the Drone Racing League. They ended up gifting us some drone seats on their simulator. They ended up also the head of engineering, and we got to talk to their drone racing pilot winner for 2019, Alex. And so he came in and gave us a tech talk. The whole crew, the head of engineering was a female. The president of the Drone Racing League is a female, Rachel Jacobson. I had recently saw that she got nominated as the president. And I was like, I would need to reach out to her just to see, what could they say? No. And so I tried it anyway, and they did. Then we just, we utilized everything that we had because we were digitized. We ended up talking with a few friends that knew a friend. So we got in touch with someone at NASA that was a jet rocket builder. They came on and gave us a tech talk. I started marketing what was going on, that I needed more kids, And so by the time the program started and all the marketing that I did, I ended up having not only kids in Texas, but I had kids in New Jersey, New York, Florida, Louisiana. We got a summer bunch of kids from there from another STEM program, and they joined us virtually. And so we ended up getting, quite a few kids, Canada, India, and Ireland. And so it was really a neat time. I wasn't expecting it to, turn into that, but it did. And we were able to support our initiatives through those sponsors and partnerships. Really cool thing is we got a chance to go on field trips. And so with our field trips, we went to the NASA Space Center. We went to the Frontiers of Flight Museum tour. We went to a marine biology, deep sea underdiving with the Smithsonian. And we were all at home. And mind you, everybody was wondering how we're doing all of these field trips. Well, we did. We did them all virtually. And thanks to Google Arts and Culture, we were able to get it done. Also, we did coding. So we coded, we did a coding project and we made digital comic books. We coded another project and we coded these out of scratch. And we coded a game in robotic process automation. So we made a chat bot. And then our kids did Python. We did Scratch, where these were in Scratch. And then they created a capstone project through that. And at the end of the summer, they had built a website and also came out about their drone camp experiences, published all with the URL link, and it's still available. And so we did a lot, right? But we all had to figure out, I had to get volunteers. I had to beg people, and ask them to please come and do our code alongs. We ran every day of the week from 9 to 3. And our kids had a really immersive experience. Black Girls Drone is really about an immersive experience because we work with a lot of underserved communities. And then we work with communities and kids that probably would not have access to a program like this to learn STEM. So we make sure that we focus on them not only learning the tech skills, but we want them to have a hands-on way to learn those tech skills and then a portfolio of work. We did an entrepreneurship day and they all had to talk about a drone business. So we covered all of the drone industries. We watched videos and all kinds of drone stuff. And so they had to think of their drone business. And I was the banker and the investor. And one of the little kids, she was my youngest, she was 8. And I said, how much are you asking the bank for your business? She was starting a drone delivery service for lip gloss. And I said, well, how much do you want? And she said, well, I want $200 million. I said, oh my gosh. She said, I'm going to do some coding too. I said, okay, well, you got it. And so, but it was just experience getting them to think about the numbers. That's the math. And we had that. And we had a social emotional time where we spent together, and that was designing and getting the kids to understand how to use designing tools, understanding how to use the drag and drop, and understanding the jargon of computer science and the jargon of coding as well, getting them exposed to Python and Scratch and Java and HTML and CSS. And these were 8-year-olds to 12-year-olds. I had a young little boy. He has a whole portfolio of Scratch stuff, and he was my inspiration. So it's really an exciting time for these kids. Now we're working with a few school districts. We've got some traction under our belt, and we've made some more friends, and people are really interested in what we're doing, and we're wanting to spread the message and to show, that kids can do it. And working with adults, I've had some parents reach out. Now they want to learn how to become a drone pilot. The cool thing we were talking about, right, and I want to sum up, everybody said, how can you fly a drone in your virtual? Well, we used a drone simulator and we flew drones. We tracked the data. We talked about data analytics. We talked about FAA regulations, and we did that all through our drone simulator. Now, that was not in our, when we were together in the synchronous environment. They were asynchronous in flying those. but I have a dashboard and I was able to keep up with them and then critique them and tell them what was going on. And then they could share their screens and also fly. So that was really cool, what we did. And I just, tell everybody it is possible to keep the kids engaged, to really keep it really interactive and not be so boring, and them not to really think that it's something they have to do, but something that they want to do.
Great. Thanks, Fernanda. Desi, a little bit about your background and experience with teaching.
Well, hello, and thank you for having me, and thank you for putting on this amazing program. I started my career, as a lot of people did, the flying camera. So I started out as doing it just recreational, like a lot of people do. And I'm really big on the safety side of things and doing things right. So as the FAA transitioned through things, so did I. So I started out with getting what they called the 333 exemption. I thought, oh, I'm going to learn how to fly a hot air balloon so I can get a pilot's license. And I quickly realized that wasn't the way I wanted to go. My feet are on the ground and my head's in the clouds. So, so from there, I just really pursued the drone side of things and had a passion for reaching out and sharing with others. So I started working for a company called She Drones, where we actually did a project of building the drones, coding the drones, and let them fly for middle school young ladies. And then I was started on with a program in San Diego, which is called Girls Take Flight. It's an amazing program, but unfortunately this year, because of everything going on, we were grounded. You may have seen the young ladies from SOAR. They were part of the ones that were grounded. And I think you were probably very impressed with them, as I was. They're amazing young ladies. But from there, I actually am a instructor at a college, TCI Maricosta. So I actually do from youth STEM to workforce development. So I'm in the classroom. I actually work the program because I have my own company, and I teach a lot from hands-on experience through actually getting out there and doing it. I'm also a safety advisor for Women in Drones. So I have a hot tip for staying connected, but I don't want to take up everybody's time. But I truly believe that the industry just changes so fast that you need to have a way to stay connected and stay involved in it. And through this coffee connection that we have that offers that option for people to make connections. So I'm really big on that. So in a nutshell, I'm very big on the safety side. So I like to do outreach programs. I'm with the FAA safety team in San Diego, and I always like to make myself available if anybody has any questions or wants to know anything about drone operations.
Great, which actually brings me kind of to a good point. I think it might be a good idea, if you're okay with it, for each of the panelists to maybe put in your email address in the chat, and people can copy those and know how to get a hold of you. Maybe that's a good idea. So thanks, Desi. Megan, are you, I see you're on. Are you ready to share a little bit about your experience? I know you're muted, but there you go.
Hi. Yeah, I was trying to put in my email and I got
Okay.
crossed here. Okay.
Sorry to make you do double duty there.
That's okay. I'm sorry. What was your question again?
So just an introduction, a little brief introduction about your background and with respect to drones and teaching.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Megan Salter. I am a teacher in Huntington, West Virginia. So where I live is a pretty small town. We have less than 50,000 people. So where West Virginia, Kentucky, and Ohio meet, that's pretty much where I live. I've been teaching for 12 years. I have, this is the fourth year, I believe, that I've been implementing drones into the classroom. I do it with elementary students, like I said a minute ago. So I do it with grades 1 all the way to grade 5. And I have kind of over the past 4 or 5 years been developing my own curriculum in the classroom. And the big thing that I do with my students at the end of the year is we do something called Drone Olympics. And I was just in like another session talking about it. But so my students work all year. We put together a portfolio. So essentially they're kind of doing some of the same things that I would do, to get my Part 107 license. Like I make them learn all the safety rules, the physics of flight. I also make them learn the native phonetic alphabet and some weather patterns and things like that, because it's really important for me to prove that we are not just playing with toys in the classroom, even though the Telos drones are great for kids. And it's very much like you get it out and they're completely like enamored with it. And these things, even though they are toys, people need to understand that they can be used to teach so many different concepts on so many different education, just, I don't know what I'm trying to say here. So many different educational concepts can be taught using these drones. But I make all of my kids have a portfolio. And at the end of the year, we hold our big drone Olympics. Well, this was before COVID. We hold our big drone Olympics and we invite the community and family members and the news. And the students showcase the stuff that they've learned. So not only are their portfolios displayed, but we have events that the kids participate in. So it's kind of a competition. So you think of, the normal Olympics that we have, and this is the drone Olympics. So there's like 4 or 5 events the kids compete in. They all simulate real world applications to things. Like the first one was a precision and agility challenge. And that was drone racing league. So that simulated stuff, and the kids would have to go under pool noodles, go through hula hoops, go around inflatable balloon man, land, and it's something fun, but it's also teaching a lot of interesting skills for them. And you can incorporate, math, physics, so many things in that. And like another example, we do like a cargo challenge where the kids put Legos on the top of the drones and they have to take it from one place to another. So there's a lot of teamwork involved, and it's a lot of fun for the kids. But I think what makes it interesting for me is because I do it at the elementary level, and not a lot of people have been implementing that at such a young age. So that's kind of a little bit about me.
Yeah, that's a challenge, and it's interesting. I'm as a high school teacher. My wife is an elementary teacher, and we always talk about how neither of us would want the other's job. So, a lot of patience, I guess, everywhere.
That's the same thing with, well, my husband's a high school engineering teacher, so and I teach elementary.
So we have the same dinner time conversations, basically. Scott, number 4 in your program, number 1 in your heart, Mr. Buell.
Hey, how are you? Hey, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Anthony. So I am the founder of Drone Legends. I'm a 107 drone operator. And one thing I noticed, I'll back up. I'm a 107 operator who has this affinity for children, young kids. I love them. So I'm the big kid. My house was the house where all the kids came. So, I'm 54 going on 12. And one of the things that I always saw when I took my drone out was the children, whether they were 8 or 80, always had the same reaction. It was, wow, you've got a drone. I got to see the drone. And so as I started to think about what I wanted to do for the second half of my life, I thought, wow, what a great way to capture children's attention using these small drones. Well, at the time I was flying, a Mavic. Now I've got my little Mini here, and utilize that in some sort of an educational program. I'm a child of a character education background. So I'm a huge proponent of character education. At Drone Legends, we like to say inside every child lives a legend. So I'm using drones as a means to an end, right? So drones are the teaching tool. It's the teaching platform. And I'm engaging with students as young as 8, between 8 and 13. And I've had tremendous success both in person to person, and virtually. We're right now working on a program in a school district in Tennessee where the children only know me from what you see right now. And we're beaming into the ESP programs down there. We just signed on 5 schools, and we're beaming into one to many. So we've got other instructors, and then we've got boots on the ground there that help facilitate some of the technology. So they're working in bubbles during the COVID time, and they're working in pods. So really what we're teaching the kids in our program is a few things. We're teaching them drone ops, the business of drones, drone news, and so forth, all the kind of things that we talk about of where's the drone industry heading. Hey, kids, have you ever thought, remember when we grew up, it was, I want to be a fireman, well, a fire person. How about I want to be a drone operator? How about I want to be a drone engineer? How about I want to program autonomous drones? How about we watch this drone fly on Mars, and one of these days you folks are going to be programming drones that do that. I also am an artist. The reason I picked up a drone, Desi, is because I loved my flying camera. And so I love the fact that we've got a camera. So we teach them cinematography. Yeah, it's a Telo. I know it's a 5 megapixel camera, but they're 10 and they're making movies, and it's awesome. So we have movie challenges. The kids learn how to how to pilot. We teach them the basics. We teach them some cinematic moves. So there's about 10 really great cinematic moves that a drone can accomplish that we couldn't do 10 years ago, right? You didn't see things like this. We use Jurassic World as an example where the pterodactyls are flying. That's drone, right? So the kids then are taught how to edit, and they make their own movies. So we do some movies there. The third is the coding component. So we do utilize drone blocks. I'm very engaged with the drone blocks folks. We build off their core curriculum, and we create new missions and new challenges based on what they've developed. It's a great program. They've got a great application. I'm here to tell you there's others out there, and they're not paying me to say this. None of them are perfect. They all have their, it's tech. We're dealing with technology. But the Telo drone blocks combination is the best that I've found. I think some of you all will echo that have had the experience. I mean, you can work with others. It's just that synergy between those two platforms. Drone Blocks has done a very nice job of putting their flag in the ground and saying we're gonna work specifically with the DJI, and they're developing curriculum for the Mini now. They do have curriculum for the larger drones. We've just gained access to the camera function within Drone Blocks, which is something that wasn't available even a year ago. So that opens up a whole new opportunity for new missions and new codes and new challenges. So I'll stop there. I could go on forever, but I'll kind of zip it and let others chime in.
Great. Well, thank you guys. A lot of great experience, and you can see all kinds of different applications. I mean, as I think about what I might want to do, and I'm kind of exploring all the things that you're talking about. How do I do that? It looks like there's a 1,000 different things that you can do and places you can start. One of the questions we got says, my school district has asked me to submit a best practices document as part of the approval process before I can get drones in the classroom. Can you please share the approval process that you went through to get drones in the classroom? So maybe Megan would be a good person to start with that one. Did you have to go through anything special, Megan? Do any proposal or write-up or anything for the board or your principal, or how did that work for you?
As far as when I first started implementing it in the classroom 4 or 5 years ago, I've lost track of time at this point. People really didn't know what they were, including me. I wasn't really, I had a guest speaker come into my classroom, and he was a great mentor for me as far as learning about drones and how to use them. But I definitely would suggest that you talk to your principal first, because you don't want to be flying something like that and they walk in and be like, what is this? I had to explain to my principal, what it was and how it was not going to injure children. I do a safety talk with the kids. I make them sign like a code of contract for them. And also I'm really big stickler for the kids always wearing safety glasses or some type of an eye protection, because the Telo drones that I use, they're not going to hurt anything. You can run them to the wall, you can run them in your face. That's happened in my classroom. You also, if you're a girl, make sure you have your hair back, because that's not fun either. But as far as the safety aspect, these Telo drones are, completely safe to use about any age. I'm a certified Part 107 pilot. It doesn't, for me, what I do, I don't necessarily need that, because it's for commercial purposes, but I also want to prove that I know what I'm doing to parents or administrators. So I've never had any issues with that. But I can see it being an issue if you have someone who, like, I mean, if you're using a bigger drone in your classroom, because, those can really cause some damage. What I have right now, you can stick your finger in the propeller and, you might get a little cut. But I guess it just depends between, like, where you're working with stuff. So I hope I answered that question. But, for me, with using the Telo drones, the biggest problem I worry about is eye protection for the students.
Can I chime in?
Yes.
My brain is just racing because she's so spot on as far as the safety aspects. I suggest have it in kind of a business format where you're approaching it as a business venture, and you want to make sure that you presented all the details when you're trying to get this to go through. You want to address the insurance side of things. You want to address your safety. Like she said, you want to wear the safety vest and the goggles. You want to put all that into it when you're putting your proposal together. I'm really big on SOPs. Write out some basic ones. Of course, they change with every operation, but write out some standard, like she said, the code of conduct. Put some safety standards right in there. Your SOPs are really important. And so you were spot on. And so my brain just started going.
Wait, let me unmute myself. I also have we have sayings in my classroom for the students. So number one, we all know that regardless of what age level students are, there you have some that are extremely competitive. We have a rule, there's no crying and drone flying in my classroom. And secondly, if I think that you are doing something that's going to endanger yourself or somebody else or purposely harm the equipment, I tell them that they're grounded. Now, for elementary kids, middle school kids, high school kids, they totally get that. All right. So it kind of gets synonymous with, hey, you're grounded because you're not allowed to do this, but you're also grounded, like as in you can't fly until you prove that you can do it responsibly. So that usually if I have to ground them once, they're pretty much, they're good to go and they stop doing it.
I wonder what the high school equivalent would be to no crying during flying. I could probably think of something, but it might not be school appropriate. And no swearing, maybe, I don't know. I have a question here for Scott. Scott, can you share what specifically you teach your students regarding movie making? I teach high school and like to incorporate drone usage next semester with my students.
Yeah, okay, great question. So again, I'm working with much younger students than high school students, but I'm sure the high school students would have as good as a time as we're having. In cinematography, if there's some basic moves. There's some of the things that we're teaching when you talk about manual flight teaching. There's point of interest, right? So when I'm shooting real estate, one of the moves I'm always trying to, and listen, we all know that there are now autonomous cheats that will make us have a nice smooth. But when I started flying, I had to really kind of figure out how to do a nice point of interest and not have any jerks going on. So I don't let the kids use the pre-built-in Telos stuff. I make them fly a point of interest, a pedestal, a reveal, something with drones. One of my favorite shots, coming, pulling back over something and getting that really neat kind of perspective, right? And then bringing all that in. And then we're simply using iMovie, or in the case if we've got a child using Android, because I'm doing all virtual now. So I do, into the classrooms, or I do what we're seeing today where with Hernanda, your experiences mirrors mine. It's, kids from New Mexico, Toronto, California, New Jersey, all in the same. It actually supports my vision of developing a global community of kids enjoying drones, which has been the silver lining to COVID. So we teach them some basic editing. So we're not just teaching them how to fly, but one of the things, if you're going to use a drone for cinematography, you kind of have to understand the editing process as well. So, they have a lot of fun with that. In fact, it's wild. I just walked I paid a visit down to Tennessee. Yeah, I flew. And surprised the kids. They were waiting for me to come on the screen. And I kind of walked up behind them, was like, "You looking for me?" And, whoa. And I kind of felt like a TV star for a minute. It was weird. And, but we watched them making their movies, and they're so engaged. Just learning the editing process. We teach them to try to cut things on a beat. Really, really kind of, I'm a big fan of, find that beat, for who's ever used drone blocks, there's a sine wave equation, right? We kind of use the sine, that pattern as a sound wave, and then we're using that to chop up. I don't want more than 3 seconds to go by without you making a transition or a cut. So we're teaching them how to cut, transition, throw that in. It makes one of my biggest criticisms when I first started flying and making movies and video was that I let things linger too long. You're trying way too hard to kind of hang on to that piece, put it on the cutting room floor and let's go. All that kind of stuff. I hope that answered the question.
And I saw you put in the chat that you use iMovie and Prism Live. So
Yeah, Prism Live is the Android, so I can't control all of the devices that the kids are using when they're at home. Some kids sign on with an Android device, and that's fine. Obviously, they don't have access to iMovie, so we found Prism, and there's another that we're looking at right now because Prism makes you sign in with a Gmail account. I can give you that in just a moment. There's the one we're looking at is it's called Kinemaster with a K, and some parents aren't comfortable with the child signing in with a Gmail address or something, so this requires no sign in. But again, we're just trying to find multi-platform tools that are free, open source, that the kids can use to edit their videos.
yeah, we use, and I know our district has an account, but I'm pretty sure you can get free accounts. It's called WeVideo. It's a cloud-based platform where you can upload clips and edit clips. So I don't know if that is if that's an alternative, but WeVideo it's called.
Yeah.
And it's pretty simple to use, and has pretty decent editing tools. Our media department would say otherwise, but I think it's good enough for what we're doing and what we're talking about here. From Kitty says, what is a good reasonable drone for students to use at home remotely? Our district does not want us to check out the Telos. So I guess not to give the students the Telos, not as an investigate, but check them out like books. So the good question, especially in this remote environment.
I don't have a good answer for that.
I'm sorry, you said that the county doesn't want them to check them out. Is that what you said?
Yeah, it says the district does not want us to check out.
Meaning like borrow like a book?
Drones.
Yeah.
So is there a good cheap drone to use at home? I know you can go on Amazon and find, I have several toy drones. I think they're harder to fly, because they don't have all of the automatic flight control software in it, which might not necessarily be a bad thing because you actually learn good piloting skills. And if they're small, you might scare your cat, but you're probably not going to break anything. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
That's right where I start people, is with the SEMA drone. And the reason being is that you have to learn to be a pilot. I want to make sure that I've developed those pilot skills so that when they transition outside or to the Telo where they go, wow, this is really easy.
Right.
No, I've already instilled good stick skills with everybody. So I usually start out with the SEMA type of drone, and they have settings on there, so it can be a little bit more stable, but it's not anywhere near like you would with the Telo or anything above beyond that.
And would you know off the top of your head what the cost of that is by any
I
chance?
believe it's okay. Now it's a really high-end drone. Okay. So it's like $35, and that includes a really high-end, not so high-end camera, but it's like $35. And that includes a little wonky camera.
Right.
Yes, that's the one. SEMA X5. Brad posted it in there. Yeah.
Yeah, and Joe put the toy drones are difficult, and I speaking from personal experience, I agree with that. And I think to Desi's point, to teach piloting skills, if that's what you want, then they're probably pretty good. If you want to teach coding or something else, they're probably not good, right? Is that a fair statement?
Totally agree. I've also had a situation where because they are not quite so stable, that I've actually had some of the young ladies be a little bit more fearful of actually getting onto the sticks with them. And then pretty soon they realize, oh, okay, especially when you give them a big space, like in the
Right.
gym, where they can kind of spread out and realize, oh, wow, it's not going to go flying away. I can still kind of keep it reined in a bit.
So Megan, have you had to do anything special with all this remote learning, and how have you been doing that?
Yeah, let me back up here. I wanted to say, and I cannot think off the top of my head, but I had somebody ask me the question about drones, using drones at home and safety. And I cannot think, you can probably look it on Amazon, but there is some drone company that has a drone that has like a cage around it. Like it's maybe like $40, $50. I can't think of what that is because, the big problem that people are about is propellers, with kids and not wearing safety glasses or whatever. But that is out there, and that's an inexpensive, thing that you could use. As far as right now with doing things virtually with the students with drones, I'm not being very successful with it because my position right now, the county where I am in, we have students who are in person. So we have some kids that are in person, so 2 days a week. So I have kids on Monday and Tuesday. I have kids on Thursday and Friday, and Wednesday is all virtual as far as students go. So I don't have enough supplies to give every kid who's virtual a drone because I have like 60 kids that I'm working with. So that's not feasible. I tried doing, yes, a couple kids just tried flying them remotely. So I was in my classroom and they each had a drone and all the materials and they could fly everything just fine, but it was difficult for the other people and myself to watch them because they only have one device. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, I got to get off my meeting here because I got to fly my drone and I have an iPad and that's all I have. But I'm very fortunate that our county this year, they did a one-on-one device because I am in a pretty, small area. I live under 50,000 people in the city where I live. So them just getting a one-on-one device is a huge, huge game changer for them. But also trying to fly these things remotely and interact with the kids, it's not feasible for me right now because, where I live, I have some households that the entire family shares one computer. So the technology needs to be a little bit more, I shouldn't say advanced, but they're more available for the kids to try to do that for me remotely right now. I might look into some simulators and things like that, but I tried it and I wasn't too successful.
Hey,
Yeah,
Tony?
I echo that. That was my challenge, right? Because we were initially going to host our camp in person. And so we had to switch over to a virtual platform and use the simulator. And the simulator is the simulator that we use served the purpose to keep the kids interactive, to keep the kids engaged. It teaches the stick controls. It follows it lets them know about crashing, FAA regulations. It also teaches them on the inside the different types of drones. So they're not using just a fake drone, they're using the market drones. They're using DJI drones, they're using a Matrice, or they're using, a Mavic that's in there. So they're having a chance to explore the different types of drones in different scenarios. In an agricultural scenario on the street. So when they crash, a lot of them, of course they are, because you have a training module where we learned the basics of the yaw, pitch, and roll. And this simulator is used by firefighters and commercial drone pilots in the aviation as well to train workforce development. So it is, you can talk with them. They're very personable. They create a lesson plan, a license plan for you. You add your students. All they need is an email address, and they grant you the access for the length of time that you talk with them about. They're very personable. It's called Zephyr. That's who we use. Now, I did suggest to some of my kids to just go and get a drone, and so I just found this drone that I suggested to the kids. 9-minute flight time. They're up in the air and they can fly around in the yard. And they can just have some hands-on practice to take those sticks controls that they've learned on the simulator, because really all we covered was that. and then watching, because we're in a digital COVID world, so we had to adapt to the things that we had there. So utilizing the stars on YouTube and their great performances with their drones helps the kids to frame what it's like and to see what it's like. And then also say, I did this on my flight simulator. Now I have my own play drone at home, my own drone. And, we would like to, of course, have been in person and flown drones around. But I think from my perspective, having been caught in COVID at the beginning of it, when we initially were going to be in person, to pivot to a digitized and a digital format was really hands-on for my kids. And my kiddos really enjoyed it. And I had a lot of parents that said that, they were glad that it wasn't them, having to deal with getting the kid back and forth. It just kind of solved a few problems that were going on at the time, especially at the beginning of COVID.
Scott, were you going to say something there? I know you
Oh,
were.
no, I'm
you were
sorry. Am I not muted? I'm sorry about that.
Oh
Sorry.
no, I was muted. There's also a question. If I can scroll back, I've been trying to keep up with the chat. There's a question, a statement. Next semester, this teacher is going to be teaching drones, and they've purchased Mind's Eye. Does anyone on the panel know of this curriculum? I guess, what are your thoughts on that curriculum versus another? Thoughts? Mind's Eye. I've not heard of it.
I've not heard of it.
Nobody?
I can only, the one thing I'll do, and again, I'm not being paid by Tello nor Drone Blocks, but careful with the toys in the classroom. And I think Megan, you'll agree, and Desi, and anybody who's worked with the kids, or Nanda, it's like anything else. If they're frustrated quickly out of the gate with tools and toys that don't function well, the nice thing about the Tello, it does have the altitude hold, so it makes it a little easier. Desi, I learned on a SEMA as well. It was a bear to keep that thing aloft. But if you're working with younger students, this is why they end up in trees and rooftops and on the top of the school instead of in the classroom. And so, because that yaw pitch thing is, and that's what we teach the kids. What happens when I yaw 90 left and I push forward and I pitch forward? Where's the drone? It's over there. And now, so, I know we're in a weird time with COVID and we're trying to find things that work. But that Tello, I hesitate to recommend anything else. Like Megan, I saw your thing. It's hard because a lot of that stuff, I always feel like I tell people there's kind of like this for a reasonable price. It's not horrible. And then the next thing for me is the Mini. And there's all these things in between. And a lot of it, unfortunately, is kind of toy stuff, right? And they break easy. They're not really meant for the classroom. Tello was designed for the classroom. Mm-hmm. And with the EDU model, there's other things that you can do with it as well. So it's just a little bit of a caveat when we talk about working with students, especially the younger ones. What you're trying to accomplish there, you certainly don't want them to have a poor experience out of the gate, and then they do end up. I think I heard somebody in another session talking about a milk crate full of dusty drones, and that's can happen if we're not careful.
So stay away from the toys is what I hear you saying.
If it's in an educational environment, I think you got to get tool, not toy, right? Tool, not tool.
Yeah, if I can interject, it's Ron Pointer with On Point. That's what we've kind of found is those drones, they just don't last. And we've had a lot of schools that have bought those and they last maybe a semester, maybe a year, and you can't repair them in general. But if you want to go with something smaller and still teach them some throttle control that's not GPS stabilized, racing drones, the mini racing drones aren't a bad way to go. The newer ones with brushless motors are pretty robust. They're small. You can operate them. We've flown them in. We did a video. We flew them through the library at UT Dallas. Filming. And so they can be kind of a decent alternative. They're not cheap though. A set of goggles and all that. You're looking at it probably in the neighborhood of $300 or $400 to get to that level. but they are small. And if you want to fly indoors, they're not a bad solution to that. And there are a lot of simulators out there for racing drones that are pretty inexpensive. We're working with one company called Rotor Rush to try to put together a collaborative where we can set up teams at schools. And so they can literally fly them from home with a game controller. The simulator will work on any, on any kind of a computer. Doesn't help if an entire family of 5 has one computer to use, but it does at least let them do it virtually if that's something that is that's that something you want to try to do. And with COVID and who knows how long we'll be working virtually, we thought it was a real good solution. And there's a simulator out there. It's $5. It's called Free Rider. It's literally a $5. It's a download, and you can use a game controller. It will help teach that throttle control because it is simulating a racing drone. So it's not a bad solution. It's pretty low cost. And there's a couple others out there, but like I said, we're trying to work with Rotor Rush to come up with something to offer where a school can set up a team and the students can be in the classroom racing each other, or they can be at home doing it. So I think it'd be kind of a fun way to kind of keep the interest, even if they can't interact a whole lot with their friends.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
fantastic.
you're looking for a coding solution simulator, Drone Blocks offers a simulator as well.
Yeah, they do. It's a great little simulator.
It's cool. They're doing some neat things. And what they included was the motion trail on the simulator. So you've got people now, if we're all of an age, remember Etch-a-Sketch and Spiral Graph? People are creating works of art using code strings, so block coding strings, to create elaborate works of art, and then they're sharing them in a community. There's actually a challenge going on right now in Drone Blocks where we're looking at who's created the best piece of art, and it's code. So you're not just flying and creating the trail, you're actually having to use the Drone Blocks block coding elements to create and test out. We saw somebody that developed a Santa Claus face out of it. It was remarkable, and it's all block coding. So it comes back and traces over itself. It's using arcs and curves in 3D space, so it's pretty neat.
Very cool.
Yeah, I just want to say that's cool too. I love that you can still have that element of the drag and drop. And because we didn't utilize Drone Blocks this time in our curriculum for this summer, we have spoken with them, and we're excited to start using it, hopefully in a face-to-face environment whenever that looks like it's going to be back. But I wanted to say, bouncing off what Scott said, it is cool for them to learn the drag and drop, even if you guys don't have drones in your classroom yet, because I'm working with a teacher now, and I've gotten them to implement MIT Scratch, and it's free. And the kids are building portfolios, just like Scott said. We have challenges on art and design. So that's why we created like our t-shirts and digital design type things as well to keep the kids engaged. Because you do want them to learn, and whenever they are in person, you can still bring that element of the drones in, because like Professor Parra said, there's a less expensive way. Even if you have one computer, maybe you could just kind of help the parent track a time and say, hey, at 4 o'clock, if it's or 3 o'clock, what time do you think maybe kind of work out a little drone schedule and have them create a drone tracker, so that when they are flying and they are doing some coding, they still get the hands-on experience, that they have the understanding of what it is.
Great. Well, I'm going to just interject here real quick. Being the timekeeper, we were going to end at 3:50. I'm not going to do that. I mean, we got a great thing going here. Having said that, I don't think anyone's going to be offended if you need to do whatever you need to do on a Saturday and leave. But I'm going to keep this open. Hopefully our panel can stay around for a little while, and I will stay here until we're done. I think there was one question, Ron. I'm not sure if you saw it. It said, will the simulator you mentioned work with Chromebooks?
I'll answer that. So Drone Blocks works really well with Chromebooks, whether it's the simulator or actually the drone itself. So there's a Chrome extension that's free. Not the simulator, but the actual Chrome extension that works with both the standard Telos as well as the EDU. Standard Telos are programmable with Drone Blocks. They also have in the membership platform. I've sent a link in there. There's a free trial, I believe. There's Python, Node-RED, Java, OpenCV, the simulator. I believe DroneBlocks has an enterprise package that for schools, and they have a membership package, which is like $5 a month, that gives you access to all of this stuff, the block coding curriculum, as well as some of the more advanced coding as the Java, Python, OpenCV. They're doing some neat stuff with OpenCV. So you can check that out. I put a link in the chat. You can go check that out. I think they have a free like monthly trial that you can check out and play around in there. There's a lot of cool stuff. Simulator comes with that trial, I believe.
Yeah, I just clicked on that, and yeah, it looks like they do have a
Oh, it's neat. It's neat
free,
stuff.
a
They're
free
doing
program.
they're
So I
doing
love all these links. I like being the moderator on this. I'm learning so much. This is unbelievable.
I'd like to interject if I can. I am not
Absolutely.
Professor Para. I let somebody borrow my computer, and for some reason it said I was a professor. So
Oh,
in my family, my wife's a professor. I am not. So there is
I'm
a professor
sorry,
pointer,
Ron.
but it's not me.
Should have gone with it, Ron. Should have
I
gone.
had somebody
You
call me
should've gone
doctor
with-
once, and it took me a while before I corrected him. But
My apologies, Ron.
Next time
not at all. Not at all.
Next time I see you, it's going to be hello, doctor.
It's going to be Professor.
Good question here is, are there apps that could help in the classroom? And I guess my extension to that question would be, are there apps that kids could use at home?
I believe DroneBlocks is an app. Now, you can't do everything with it, but it is an app. So they could create, and Dennis and Marissa are the experts here, but the students can, with an app, create a program or create a flight or something like that, and then save it. And then when they get into the classroom, execute it there. So they can do that from home, I believe. Scott,
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong.
No, Ron, you're right on. We use DroneBlocks as a cornerstone of our curriculum. So it is app-based. The block coding element is app-based. And the kids with a Telo at home, again, every one of my students has a Telo at home. We require them to have a device. They're using DroneBlocks. Ron's spot on. They can create missions. We have a curriculum that is all built around refactoring, code optimization, variables, if-else logic. So there's a lot of cool things they can do with it. I could even share my screen and show you a second what it looks like if you're curious as to what the application looks like. I'll share my phone and I'll show you what this looks like. It's actually pretty cool. If everybody's into that, you guys into that?
Yeah, your co-host.
Yeah, I'll show you what this app looks like. So this is what we do. When I teach the kids in a virtual environment, I actually share my screen and I'm working with them to collaborate and develop the coding mission. So I'll show them how to work through some of the applications. So I'm just going to connect here. All right, everybody sees my screen. There's my cool little Drone Legends thing there. So this is DroneBlocks down here on the right. You'll see that. I open that up. DroneBlocks is a block coding application. It's drag and drop. So the kids can be at home. They can set their takeoff. And just caveat, I do the professional development for DroneBlocks. I actually do a lot of their webinars as well. So I've been using DroneBlocks for almost 2 years in my programs. Again, nobody's perfect, but I defy you to find a better block coding drone combination than these two. You will have some issues, but we help you work through there. Like I said,
Question.
yes.
When you started the segment right here, you said that you require them to have a drone already.
When
So
I'm
part
working,
of
so
your
my
program, you've
yep.
already they have this drone.
When people register for my course, they can buy a Telo.
Gotcha.
And we
Okay.
mail them a Telo. We mail a Telo to their house. The kids get the Telo. We tell the parents don't let them open it till the first class because the first class is flight. So obviously it's holidays. I had a parent say, ooh, Christmas present. And I said, if you can keep that thing under wraps until January 9th, you do us all a big favor. Because again, I don't want it to wind up in a tree or on a roof. I hate to sound redundant. Really cool is you've got some flip functions here. And I'll just show you what DroneBlocks does. It's really nice is that they have this feature here where you can show the mission code. So as we're building code, the children are able to look over and see what the JavaScript looks like. So it's very cool. I always make sure that we utilize the show mission code app feature so that the kids see what the Java code looks like, especially when we get into some pretty complex coding things for kids that are 9, 10, 11 years old. But we break it down and walk them through it. I'm not going to make it a Drone Blocks presentation, but I just thought I'd show you that it is an app. It's free. The app itself is free. Curriculum is not. So anybody can go download Drone Blocks off of the App Store or the Play Store, get a Telo, and play around at home if they felt like it.
I mean, and I think that's pretty, that to me, someone that's, just getting started or trying to figure out what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it. I like free. Teachers like free. I don't want to have to, sign up for something and then remember 3 months later to turn off my credit card or whatever. So being able to try something out, for me anyway, that's very valuable. There is also a question here. I thought it was a pretty good one. And it's scrolling up. Can you talk more about how you're using OpenCV and Python?
Is that directed at me?
I think that, I don't know who that was directed to.
I opened my big mouth and mentioned the two, so I'll kind of step into that one. I personally don't use it. Again, I'm leaving off at the block coding with the children. My goal is to give them the fundamentals and the foundation across kind of those three disciplines I talked about when I introduced myself, of ops, cinematography, some basic block, and then watch them sprout and go there whichever way so pleases them, right? Some kids are going to go over coding. The Python programming, again, if you look at that Drone Blocks link, get a free subscription for like a month. There are a lot of tutorials in there. There's video walkthroughs that break down how to use the Python, how to integrate it into the Telo. It's designed for Telo. Same with OpenCV. And I do believe that towards the end of the year, there's a whole new curriculum track being developed for OpenCV, where there's going to be some facial recognition using the camera. So there's a lot of cool stuff going on. I'll tell you another cool resource is the Facebook group for Drone Blocks on Facebook. It's the Drone Blocks community. So if you're interested in thinking about Drone Blocks, I know that people jump on questions. In other words, it's a great community, like 4,000 members. And if you have any questions about connectivity or using something like CV or Python, probably it's like a little swarm. Within seconds of you posting your question, you're going to get a lot of awesome people that love what we're doing here, providing you support and help as it relates to the coding component of the drone curriculum and Drone Blocks in particular. I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, I do have a question actually for myself, and a lot of these chat questions are awesome, and I have some different ones. So I'm just going to throw in one of mine here. So I'd love to be able to offer a semester or a year-long class, but I'm not there yet. That's almost an act of Congress at my school. But what I can do is incorporate, test the waters. I love to test the waters with something small, maybe a unit, or maybe even something I can do in an after-school club. But having said that, what are some of the mistakes that you see teachers make as they're implementing drones for the first time, whether that's a unit, whether that's a year long? What are those things that to kind of those gotchas?
I have a few if you want me to contribute, because I've been using them with, as I in person, tried to do it remotely, didn't quite work for me. But like couple tips, that I have, you always make sure the kids wear safety glasses. That's just a big yes, always have to do that. But as far as like using the Telo drones, I got really frustrated with them this year because I didn't realize. So before I used the Parrot mini drones, they were great. They were Bluetooth enabled, I believe, and the Telo drones are Wi-Fi enabled. Well, I'm going to my Drone Olympics where I had, before we used all these drones in the classroom. My kids don't have cell phones because they're in elementary school, or they don't have them out. Well, when we did the Drone Olympics, everything was messed up because so many of my parents had cell phones, and it was the internet with it connecting, and it was a disaster. but we worked through that. And also I didn't like the Telos because they shut off after 3 minutes. Well, I had kids that were ready to go. They had their drone, they had it ready to go. And then they would go to do their event. They had to reconnect it again.
Mhm.
And if you do have more than one Telo in your classroom and the kids are using them and you're trying to fly more than one at a time, they can't get too close or one will lose reception. And also a pointer, like we had in my classroom, I had 5 or 6 kids in different parts of the room, whatever. We were just getting the drones out and getting ready to fly them. Well, the Telo, they're identified by their serial number. So I had students that were connecting to other kids' drones and they're like, what is going on here? So we had to definitely get stickers, put them on the hull of the drone. So those are just some, some tips that I have for people. So just be aware that it turns off after 3 minutes. It shuts off. Also, the drones can't get too close to each other, which somebody mentioned in the chat. Swarms. I've not been able to do that. I haven't tried to do it. I really haven't tried to focus on it that much, but that seemed very difficult for me. So those are a couple tips that I have that from experience.
I can chime in.
Sure, Scott.
Megan's right. She's referencing the Parrot Mambos, which was my favorite little drone. They don't make them anymore. Parrot decided to discontinue and not support the Parrot anymore. I wish I could go purchase it because I'd bring it back to life because it was a really amazing platform. It was rock solid, stable. But I'm not going to dwell on that because they're not supporting them anymore. Telos, some best practices with the Telos. She also mentioned that there's an SSID with each Telo. We do label each of our drones, and you'll also see there's a little number at the bottom of my drone. So they connect with Wi-Fi. They broadcast a Wi-Fi signal, and they do connect with your Wi-Fi. So what we've done is we created a swarm, Megan. We used the simulator, and my students wanted to do a Blue Angels event where we had a bunch of different drones. 2 came up, flew out, came across, and 2 were making circles this way. And then they flew through the circles and came back around. What we did is we used the drone block simulator to create the code mission and test it out like in a sandbox environment. And then we plugged it into the actual drones and we were able to kind of choreograph and see how everything would work. And then we took it into a gymnasium. Now, to Megan's point, to really do a swarm, it requires that you have a pretty sophisticated router system. The EDU has it. They make it look real simple on the commercial. It's not. They make it look like you just kind of do it and it happens. And it's like, woohoo, everybody's having a fun drone swarm. And no, you need a dedicated Wi-Fi signal, router setup. You really have to know what you're doing. But we kind of emulated that where we had one drone take off. So we had four of our iPads lined up and we created a video of it where we had 4 iPads lined up and we kind of timed it to where we went 1, 2, 3, 4, hover, 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 12 seconds, 9, 6, 3, flip, do your thing. It worked. Megan, to your point, we do is you can dedicate a Wi-Fi password for your drone in the settings on the Telo app. So we require that each of our drones is connected to a specific device via a Wi-Fi password. That mitigates some of the interference problems that you're talking about. So you'll see that number on the front of my drone is actually 6 because the password ends in the letter 6. Just some best practices with that. It isn't the Mambo, but and some going backwards a little bit of what not to do. One of the things that we see all the time when we bring our Drone Legends program into schools as primarily after school programs is people start drone programs and they become these free-for-all melees of just flying. And there's no structure and there's no system around it. What we've tried to do to avoid that is you want a structured, systematic approach, e.g. a curriculum that the kids are following, because if it's just a free-for-all melee of flying drones, it sounds fun, drones in the classroom, and it's a free-for-all. And so that doesn't do anybody any good. It's fun for about a day, and then that becomes old real quick. Where I know Megan's talking about her Drone Olympics is something that the kids work towards. Hernanda's been doing some great stuff with the simulator models and bringing the kids and engaging them. It's all about the kids and engaging these kids, right? The free-for-all stuff, I can't tell you how many people I've talked to said, we did a drone program here and it didn't work. And when you pull back some of the layers of, well, what exactly is it that you did? 9 times out of 10, they just bought a bunch of drones and thought they'd fly them. And that's not good for anybody, but for maybe a play day.
So do some homework on the network connectivity side and
Yeah.
do it, make sure that's robust.
If you're using the Tello or whatever platform you decide to use, understand, really understand the platform well. Do your research, find out, find out what the faults of it are too. Uncover some of those warts and see what you got.
Right. I see there was a question about 107 in senior year, and I see Ron. Thank you, Ron, with Karina answered that. There's also a question from Lily, says, to go off my previous question, what would be good to cover in a short unit besides safety? So, I'm thinking about, and I kind of have the same question. I want to cover, I have 3-4 weeks. What, and there are a lot of choices to cover. Is there a best? Is there a good thing? I mean, what are your thoughts on that? As far as topics for short unit.
I have, we start with a 2 times a week, 1 hour each session for 4 to 6 weeks. And in that time, we teach them the basics of drone flight, drone business. They make a movie and they're learning some fundamentals of coding that include refactoring using loops, nested loops, variables, and if-else logic. And I cover that in my curriculum within the first 4 to 6 weeks. So I don't think that there has to be this, well, we're going to just cover safety. I think you can structure the curriculum. We have structured the curriculum in such a way that it allows the kids to scaffold up from what are drones, how do drones work, what are the different types of drones, what does your drone look like, all the way through to, by the end of my 6-week program, the kids are graduating with stickers and pilot wings going, we are now pilots. And we do that in 4 weeks, 6 weeks.
I think you have to keep them motivated too.
Yep.
You have to keep it stimulating to them. And they need to have, what is that end goal? Like in your case, you're saying the movie, you're developing a movie. They need to see those steps in it. And give them that end desire. Wow, I'm going to do the Olympics, or I'm going to make that movie.
Yeah, totally. I agree. I echo Desi and Scott and Megan and Ron. It's so true. You just have to keep them engaged. And because we're thinking about this in a COVID environment now, the best thing you can do that I found is create that interactive experience. And so keeping them engaged with virtual tours, like through the Frontiers of Flight Museum, and then have them actually complete something about it, right? So because we did that, then you also can have them, like Scott said, make a movie. You can use the free software that's out there and create, it on a math project or a science project, or, our second theme of, or my first theme for drone camp was space. So we talked about all things NASA, rovers, we watched videos about NASA. We watched drones in space. We talked about when the first drone went to space. And so you give the arts, the history, the science, the technology, and then you, like Scott said, you can do that, trust me, in a little bit of time, and meaningful, because if they have something that they've completed, then they can feel, like Scott said, they feel like they've achieved it and it's been accomplished. The wings, or in our case, it was the website, at the end, and published with a URL they could share with their friends, or the comics, or the MIT Scratch thing. It's just something, getting them involved, even competition on a small scale.
Yeah, I mean, my kids love competitions, and I saw something in here. I think it was Brad mentioned something, a great point about a lot of kids don't know how drones are being used in the real world. Like, what we saw, if you were with us earlier today, what was happening in Ghana, that was just amazing. And I think career for me as a high school teacher, touching on the career opportunity is big. Touching on, having a competition is great. And I like what Scott said, where, you're teaching them a little bit about some of these things and then bringing it all together. And that's what I do a lot in my classes is, and depending on what we're doing, sometimes we'll go really deep. Sometimes we'll cover a little bit of everything and then kind of put that together, and then they go deep at the end.
Mhm.
So maybe that's another approach. Don't see any huge other questions.
Did you want the virtual tour? Or did you want me to just put the link in there for the one I told you I was going to share?
Oh yeah. Go ahead. You are a co-host, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's maybe a good thing to wrap up with. I want to respect some people's time, so
Yeah.
maybe we can wrap
Sorry.
up with that. And no, not at all. Wrap up with that, and if there aren't any other big questions, but yeah, that sounds great, Hernanda. You should be able to share.
Okay. Thank you. Just bear with me. I hope I don't get lost. Okay. Can you guys see that?
Nope.
Just a dark screen.
Yeah, I just see a blank screen. Says Hernanda White has started screen sharing.
Yeah, we see that you're starting it.
Oh. Is it popped on yet?
No.
No,
Gosh.
if you have multiple screens, maybe you accidentally chose the wrong one. I've had that happen.
Oh, let's see.
Seems like I always have 20 windows up.
Ta-da.
Now we can see it.
There we go.
Okay. All righty. So this is one of my virtual tours, and I actually met her. And if you fill out the contact form, they will contact you. They're really cool. And this is the Aviation Unmanned Vehicle Museum. I know Ron knows who they are. And they're here in Cattle Mills, Texas. But I spoke with Paula, and she wasn't able to make it today, but she's really cool. They have a really awesome museum. This is from her father, her dad's stuff. These are all of his drones from like forever, like the World War II drones, all the way until his recent passing, I think like last year or 2 years ago, something like that. Hopefully we can get going. It's kind of slow. Come on.
Murphy's law of electronics. Things are always slow when you want them to go fast.
Always slow. It worked when I was testing it out, of course. Of course it would work as I'm testing it.
If I ever find that guy Murphy, I'm telling you.
This is terrible. Oh, cool. If not, if it doesn't, I'm not going to hold everybody up. I'm going to put the link in the chat if it doesn't come on. But let's see. Slow. I think we're coming. Oh my gosh. Okay. Can we see loading? You see anything? Yes.
There
Okay.
we go.
It's your loading. You're trying to.
All
load.
right. So again, challenge for the COVID summer. This was all the time. You're trying to screen share and everything gets all slow and there's a bunch of latency. So that's a indicator that we definitely are ready to be in person one day. We're overloaded our circuits. So this is the Aviation Unmanned Vehicle Museum in Cattle Mills, Texas. This guy in the back, Red, is the founder, and you see his name there. Just gonna give it a few seconds. And again, if it doesn't, guys, okay. And that's the 3D model there. Okay, there.
So now, where did you say this is physically located, Hernanda?
In Caddo Mills, Texas.
Okay. Is everything big in Texas? Is that how that works?
Kettle Mills
That's
is
our
not
motto.
big. Kettle Mills is not big.
Oh,
It's not.
I'm not even sure where it is.
It's outside of not far. It's north, going north.
Of Dallas?
Yes.
Okay.
I think not far from me. I live in Denton, so Denton County,
Okay.
so it's not far. Yeah.
so this is one person's collection. Is that what this is?
Yes, it is.
Wow. Must have a very understanding wife. If I had that many things laying around, I'd probably be living alone. I'd probably be sleeping out there with my drones.
And then he has a manufacturing, like a small manufacturing plant in the back of this, where he has every part of drones forever. Like you're talking about brushless motors, he probably has every brushless motor ever made. Yeah, he has all kinds of components and parts from World War II and on. But he was very more than an enthusiast, a collector. They've preserved everything. She said they have a lot more, but they had to do something, to try to keep the spirit going. So they put all of it in this collection and got it curated.
It's the famous Marilyn Monroe picture.
Right.
Yeah.
She was big into drones, I guess. Before they were cool.
You know the story why she's in that picture. Do you know it?
I don't.
No.
She was discovered, she worked at the radio plane factory in California, and she was discovered there. She was essentially putting them together, and she was discovered there by someone who was in, I think, the Army Air Corps. He was a public relations person, and I think he discovered her, and that's where she started her career. So when you see her in that picture, she's got like reddish curly hair.
Mm-hmm. Norma Jean.
Norma Jean, yeah. He's got quite a collection there.
Jet engines?
I know.
Yeah, but that one on the right there, that's that one there. They flew in Vietnam. It was a reconnaissance drone. They used to fly over and take pictures of POW camps, and they were trying to figure out if they were going to do rescue missions or not. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Does he have one of the original radio flyers? Do you know? Because there's like only 2 of those or 3 of those left in the world.
I don't know. I'm sure he probably does.
Yeah.
Between this place and the Frontiers of Flight Museum, they have a lot.
Yeah. I'll have to make the
I
trip
wouldn't be
out there now.
surprised.
Very cool.
Yeah. All righty.
Well, that was,
I'm
well,
gonna
thanks
stop
for sharing.
here.
It's just I'm probably not going to get to that part of Texas anytime soon. I'll ask Ron where it is, and he'll direct me.
What's that? Kettle Mills?
Yeah.
As soon as I get on Google Earth and find out where it is, I'll let you know.
All right. Well, hey, thank you, everyone. I don't know about you, but I had a ton of fun. I learned a lot from our panel. I appreciate your time, panelists, and appreciate your time, attendees. So I hope you got a lot out of this. Thank you so much for coming to the conference and being a part of it. And hopefully we can do this again next year. Share a little bit more about what we've learned. And, one thing that I've learned is that change is constant. And so it will be interesting if we do this again next year, what's new. So that will be very interesting. So again, thank you for coming. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and stay healthy.
Thank you very much for having us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care.
So
Thank you,
appreciate
everyone.
it. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye-bye. Have a
Thank
good
you.
weekend. Happy holidays.
Thank you very much.
Too.
I thank you again.